morning. Let's get into around the world news update for this particular morning. Israel. Netanyahu welcomes hundreds of Ethiopian immigrants at airport. Some 316 Ethiopian immigrants landed at the Ben Gurion airport near Tel Aviv on Thursday. They were welcomed by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, his wife, and government officials who pledged to allow families divided between the two countries to unite. The Prime Minister and the government are fulfilling the promise on the members of the Ethiopian community are arriving in Israel, said Deputy Public Security Minister Desta Gadi Yevakan. As passengers of the Ethiopian Airlines flight walked down towards the airport, many were wearing traditional Ethiopian robes and waved Israeli flags. Israel approved the operation under a family unification program, as the country's religious law does not officially consider them Jewish, although they are of Jewish descent. Upon arrival, immigrants waited under a tent to be registered, signing documents before starting their mandatory 2-week quarantine period. I'm excited, even though I won't see my sister today, as she is going to quarantine. I'll meet her after 14 days. I hope also to see my brother as well, who remained in Ethiopia. I still have hope, said Ari, whose sister flew from Ethiopia to rejoin them. On Friday, at least 100 more Jews are expected to land from Ethiopia, with estimates reaching a total of 2,000 immigrants by the end of January 2021. We feel the essence of Africa here. Cafe prepares Cameroonian meals the traditional way with plastics alternatives. At a local cafe in Douala, chefs and workers prepare traditional dishes using eco-friendly methods and materials, mashing ingredients and cooking them over an open flame. The growing popularity of heritage cuisine comes in response to growing concerns over plastic-related food poisoning. I was thinking of serving traditional meals the traditional way in a traditional setting, says the cafe's owner and head chef. These things really blend a lot. He described the public response as overwhelmingly positive, with many locals applauding the concept online and in person. It is very well thought out, said one. We feel the essence of Africa here. People had modernized everything, and I think that bringing back tradition is something that really changes things, said another, who welcomed the ancestral and the natural aspect of the concept. A local doctor explained the importance of using food safe materials when preparing and packaging meals. If you make the mistake of using plastics that aren't food grade, there's a migration of things like bisphenol or phthalates into the food. He added not in serious consequences include neurological and endocrine problems. We can even have problems with children's growth because those most at risk are pregnant women and with weight problems and cancers too. Instead, the cafe relies on sterilized palm leaves, a practice rooted in local custom. Naturally, you can keep food in leaves because when they are well washed and sterilized, I don't see many problems, even if it's hot. We've been using it that way for a long time, the doctor explained. According to reports, plastic waste and contamination of microplastics are growing concerns in Cameroon. The use of recovered plastic bottles for food packaging raises the risk of crop contamination, which can lead to food poisoning and other health issues.
Anywhere in the country, or in the world actually, they're tapered.
Well, traditional meals served in a traditional setting is a very, very good thing. I think it's a very good blend. I was thinking of serving traditional meals the traditional way in a traditional setting. Yeah. So these things really blend a lot.
Ou bien, naturellement, on peut conserver dans les feuilles, parce que les feuilles, quand c'est bien lavé, stérilisé, je ne vois pas beaucoup de problèmes. Même si c'est chaud, on a longtemps utilisé comme ça, je ne sais pas s'il y a beaucoup de problèmes, c'est le meilleur. Mais si on fait l'erreur des plastiques qui ne sont pas adaptés, il y a migration, comme le biphénol ou les phtalates dans les aliments et qui ont des conséquences assez graves. Parce que ça fait des problèmes neurologiques, des problèmes endocriniens, on peut même avoir des problèmes au niveau de la croissance des enfants, parce que les plus exposés, c'est les enfants, femmes enceintes.
All right, let's continue with around the world news update for this particular morning. Trump says he may not strike Iran, says Putin, offered to mediate. U.S. President Donald Trump laughed at press questions on when he might potentially hit Iran as he took media questions during an event to install 2 new flagpoles at the White House on Wednesday. Can you tell us whether you are moving closer or you believe the U.S. is moving you closer to striking Iran and nuclear facilities? Where's your mindset on that? He was asked. Well, obviously, I can say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? He replied. You don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, Trump continued. Was also asked if Iran had reached out and replied, yes, I said it's very late, I said it's very late to be talking. Tehran hit back quickly, saying no Iranian official has ever asked to grovel at the gates of the White House. Trump told reporters he had also discussed Iran and Israel with Vladimir Putin during their phone call on Tuesday, as well as the Russian leaders offered to mediate. Israel first launched strikes on Iranians' nuclear facilities and other targets last Friday, with Tehran sending waves of missiles in response. The conflict is now in the 6th consecutive day. Media reports suggested Trump was considering a strike on Iran and held talks with key officials in his administration on Tuesday.
Anywhere in the country, or in the world actually. They're tapered, they have the nice top. I don't know if you people are aesthetic. There's a fake news. I don't know. I don't know. But it's a very exciting project to me. And then at 11 o'clock, we're lifting the flag. But we're going to lift the pole now, and then they're going to the other side, get that, and then we're going to do, I think, 2 flag liftings. We'll be putting it up at 11 here, and a couple of minutes later on the other side. We'll start here at 11. So that'll be very nice and very patriotic.
I've been answered questions about whether you are moving closer, or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset?
Well, obviously I can't say that, right?
But
You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question. Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch?
But would you say you're
You don't know that I'm going to even do
to
it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that, and they got hit. Remember 60 days, and then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit. That first hit, that was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's
Mr.
where
President,
it
have
ended.
the Iranians
It ended
reached out
on the
to you?
first night. Yes.
Is it too late, though? Do you think it's too late to now
Not really. Nothing's
make
too
a
late.
deal with
The only thing
Iranians?
too late is Powell. Powell's too late. Too late, Powell.
Have the Iranians reached out to you,
TOL.
Mr. President?
What?
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did they say?
I said it's very late. You know? I said it's very late to be talking.
Mr. President,
It's I don't know, there's a big difference between now and a week ago, right?
Mr. President, you said we may, just about said we may meet. Is this about Vance and Witkoff possibly going to talk with them?
It's about anybody, but they've suggested that they come to the White House. That's, courageous, but, it's like not easy for them to do. But they suggested, because I can't go now because of what's going on. I had to come back early from the G7, which was terrific, by the way, in Canada. Really terrific, good people.
Is there a possibility of next week or sooner that these
Well, I don't know how much longer it's going to go on. They're totally defenseless. They have no air defense whatsoever. Totally captured. We've totally captured the air, Brian. And it's really a shame. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. This is another one. Russia, Ukraine is so stupid. Would have never happened if I was president. You guys agree with that? Would have never happened if I was president.
Not to war, occupation, repression. Berlin March calls for end to Israel attacks on Iran and Gaza. Hundreds took to the streets of Berlin in an anti-war march on Wednesday to call for an end to the fighting in Gaza and demand a halt to escalating hostilities between Tel Aviv and Tehran, while denouncing what they described as dictatorship and repression in Iran. Footage shows demonstrators chanting as they marched with signs reading "No bomb brings peace, peace for Iran and women, life, freedom." We say no to the war, occupation and repression machines of both the Islamic Republic and Israel, one protester said. For us, no to war has a clear meaning. She continued, no to war means demanding an immediate ceasefire and an end to war in Iran and Palestine. No to war means demanding the immediate end of dictatorship and repression in Iran and genocide and occupation in Palestine. The protesters also called on marginalized groups to unite in their cause against colonization, dictatorship, and genocide. With the same voices that call for a ceasefire, we say now is the time for our forces fighting the colonization of our lives to find the intersection of their struggles and stand shoulder to shoulder against the regime of war, she said. The IDF launched Operation Rise and Lion early Friday, targeting Iranian nuclear facilities and senior officials within the Revolutionary Guard, killing Chief of Staff of the Iranian Armed Forces, Major General Mohammad Bagheri, and Commander-in-Chief of the Revolutionary Guards, Major General Hossein Salami. In retaliation, Iran launched a barrage of missiles on several locations inside Israel and Operation True Promise 3. Targeting strategic sites, including Tel Aviv, resulting in casualties and damage to multiple buildings. Multiple nations and organizations condemned Israel's strikes, including Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the UAE, Russia, China, Egypt, Kuwait, and Jordan, alongside the Arab League and UN Secretary General. First flight touches down at the Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport since outbreak of hostilities with Iran. An Israel aircraft landed at Ben Gurion Airport on Wednesday morning for the first time in the eruption of the conflict with Iran last Friday. Footage released by Israel's airports authority shows the El Al aircraft taxi along runway and approaching later to the terminal. Israeli media reported that an El Al rescue flight from Larnaca, Cyprus, with Israelis on board landed at the airport. Tens of thousands of Israeli nationals are believed to be stuck overseas, and it is also reported that El Al and Arkia, alongside other Israeli airlines, are operating repatriation flights to bring those stranded back. This comes after the IDF launched Operation Rise and Lion early Friday, targeting Iranian nuclear facilities and senior officials within the Revolutionary Guard, killing Chief of Staff of the Iranian Armed Forces Major General Mohammad Bagheri and Commander-in-Chief of the Revolutionary Guards, Major General Hossein Salami. In retaliation, Iran launched a barrage of missiles on several locations inside Israel under Operation True Promise 3, targeting strategic sites including Tel Aviv, resulting in casualties and demand to multiple buildings. Multiple nations and organizations condemned Israeli strikes, including Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the UAE, Russia, China, Egypt, Kuwait, and Jordan, alongside the Arab League and the UN Secretary General. Our taxes used in the slaughter activist rally at Bay Systems Rochester base to protest government contracts F-35 component deliveries to Israel. Demonstrators rallied outside Bay Systems Electronic Systems facility in Rochester on Tuesday, demanding that the arms company halt its supply of F-35 components to Israel amid the ongoing war in Gaza. Footage shows protesters chanting while holding up Palestinian flags inside, reading "Stop Arming Genocide" and "Break Up with Bay." Protesters can also be seen laying down wrapped blood-stained shrouds, symbolizing the dead children of Gaza. What we are asking for is that Israel is removed from the supply chain of the F-35s so that parts built in Midway are not being used in the genocide happening in Gaza, one protester explained. Bay Systems is complicit in terms of the F-35 fighter jet planes. The components that are being manufactured divest more away. Enough children have died, another added. Former member of the National Assembly of South Africa, Andrew Festin, denounced the military and information security companies' governmental funding and subsidies. Effectively, our tax money is going into Bay Systems and through their weaponry in the F-35, which is dropping bombs and missiles on the Palestinian people, is being used in the slaughter that is taking place in Gaza and the West Bank, in Lebanon, and now in Iran, he said. Bay Systems manufactures the active interceptor system, an integral component of the F-35 fighter jet, which is reportedly used by the Israel Defense Forces in the ongoing conflict in Gaza. The protest was organized by Palestinian Solidarity Campaign as part of the coordinated wave of demonstrations condemning Britain's alleged complicity in the Gaza conflict. Similar actions took place outside Lockheed Martin's facility in Havant and the Forge Solutions Group in Sheffield. Preparing for the inevitable, Acapulco residents board up businesses' stockpile supplies as Ukraine Eric nears. Acapulco residents are preparing for lockdown as Ukraine Eric nears Mexico's Pacific coast, prompting the activation of emergency response measures by local authorities. Footage filmed on Wednesday morning shows workers boarding up businesses. Meanwhile, locals can be seen stockpiling emergency supplies as they brace themselves for the Category 3 storm. We are trying to prepare for the inevitable. I'm getting the basics: water, toilet paper, essential items like rice and beans. We hope this doesn't get out of control, said Jaime Bello, a local resident. Mexico's National Meteorological Services has urged the population to take shelter before 18 on a Wednesday, as wind speeds are forecast to reach 185 kilometers per hour, with gusts potentially surging to 220 kilometers per hour. One of the most serious threats is the storm surge, which could cause dangerous flooding in coastal areas, where the hurricane is projected to make landfall on Thursday. Powerful waves and strong currents are also expected, making shorelines extremely dangerous. Meteorologists also warn that between Wednesday and Thursday, rainfall could surpass 400 millimeters, more than double the region's monthly average. We're scared because, as you may know, natural phenomena are unpredictable. The meteorologists say something strong is coming. Our plan is to stay calm, said Rafael Miranda, the manager of Paradiso Beach Club. Guerrero Governor Evelyn Salgado reminded the public of the hard lessons learned from Hurricane Otis. In October 2023, the Category 5 storm claimed 52 lives, left 32 people missing, and caused widespread devastation across Acapulco. The hotel industry and other key sectors endured crippling losses. According to local authorities, 582 shelters have been prepared to assist with evacuations this year. As a preventive measure, schools have been closed since Wednesday. The Acapulco International Airport also cancelled all scheduled flights for June 19. Streets belong to people. Kenyans outraged as a mask vendor critically ill after being shot by police during Nairobi protest. Nairobi citizens on Wednesday took the streets to express their dissent during a wave of protests to denounce the violence targeted at demonstrators. This comes after a street vendor was allegedly shot by law enforcement and is in critical condition at the Kenyatta National Hospital. Footage shows the relatives of the shot vendor Boniface Mwangi Karaoke heading to the hospital, while students of the Kenyatta University also rallied at the facility. Police were deployed at the site to ensure public order. He was just hustling, selling masks, and wasn't even holding any stones, wanting to hit police. Everybody saw how he was beaten, stated Jonah Karaoke, father to the short vendor. With ICU, a lot can happen. I could appear to be breathing, and maybe he's gone. The man continued. Protesters, meanwhile, demanded the resignation of President William Ruto, as well as demonstrations held in peace instead of violent intervention by police. No amount of threats will threaten us. No amount of intimidation will intimidate us. The streets belong to the people and will be the streets until we get out of power, emphasized Philip Okech, a protesting student. CEO of the KNH, Dr. William Kiprono Sigalai, meanwhile, confirmed that a bullet was found and removed from Boniface Karaoke, and the patient remained critically ill. We received 16 casualties in our accident in the major center yesterday. From the demonstrations, the injuries that were described ranged from gunshot wounds to blunt trauma. He added, Mwangi Karaoke was reportedly shot by the police during protests on Tuesday, demanding justice for blogger Albert Ojwang, who previously was found dead while in police custody. Karaoke was unarmed and did not take part in the protesting actions at the site, according to media reports. Tensions remained high in Kenya following a year of the Gen Z-led protests, which also sparked public outcry due to the alleged violent intervention by authorities and police. We end Around the World News. Good morning.